and welcome back to Salt and Burn This. My name is Sammy,
I'm Valerie.
and welcome back to another week of our Supernatural Rewatch podcast. I've been staring at data sheets, like data entry sheets and Excel sheets for like 2.5 days straight, so
Oof.
I couldn't do it anymore. And I just woke up grumpy. It's cold and wet, and I'm tired of it being cold and wet, just
Yes,
over
I
it.
hear you. We actually had a nice day yesterday here in Charlotte, and it changes your outlook even for that day, and then
Mm-hmm.
makes it even harder the next day when it goes back to cold and
Yeah.
wet, and it's like, oh, yes. I had a friend of mine sent me a post about what winter is like here in Charlotte. It says the 12 seasons of North Carolina. Winter, Fool Spring, second winter, Spring of Deception, which is where we are right now, third winter, the Pollinating, actual spring, summer, Hell's Front Porch, false fall, second summer, actual fall. So we are in the Spring of Deception.
Right. I very much remember pollinating, the season of
Ugh,
pollinating. I've never
yes.
experienced anything like that before. Waking up to my car covered. It was my what color did I have? My
Is it
little
your
red
black
truck.
car?
It could have been
Oh,
either my black car and or my red truck were now just yellow or
yellow
orange.
green.
Yeah.
Yep. So researching some of this episode, um there was some really nitpicky things that people found about this episode. And so I went back and I started watched for those nitpicky things, and some of them were actually wrong. Others I was like, wow, I think you just didn't like this episode, and
This
so we're
is
just finding things.
this is a very disliked episode amongst the fandom.
Yeah, and Eric Kripke himself, it's like one of his least favorite episodes.
Yeah, you know what? I can kind of see why, to
Yeah.
be honest with you. But let's get into that. Okay, so season 1, episode 8, Bugs.
Bugs.
Directed by Kim Manners, whom we like.
Hmm.
Written by Bill Coakley and Rachel Nave.
Get some glasses, Sammy.
I know, I wrote really small too. Because I was trying to be artistic and write like little bugs. I'm dumb. Episode description. After a construction worker is killed by insects burrowing into his brain, the brothers investigate a town's history and find that a new housing development is being built on sacred Indian land with a curse attached. I have alternate descriptions for this as well from my own self
Oh,
after, but I'll save those till the end because I don't want to do any like spoiler alerts or anything.
okay. Okay. Well, it starts out, unfortunately, with a TV trope of Native American lands, are cursed,
Yeah,
because
the
of,
description does. Yeah.
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 But so that's the premise. I mean, they don't discover this until later in the
Mhm.
episode, but reading the premise and then discovering as you go, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, so we've gone back to, Native Americans, uh,
Equal curse.
cursed. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Curse the white man because of white man's atrocities to
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. Do you I don't think you do. I think I've asked you this a million times, but do you watch Parks and Rec?
No, not enough
Okay.
to know. I
Yeah.
mean, it's
So,
funny.
yeah, it is funny. So there's a recurring character in there who is an American Indian man whom this town of Pawnee, Indiana has a bad history with Native Americans, and they poke fun of the kind of Midwestern relationship of those kinds of things. So this guy, I forget what his name, Ken something. Anyway, he's part of the Wamapoke tribe in this town of Indiana. And there's one episode where he's mad that they're building something on a sacred burial ground. They're building like a temporary
Mhm.
festival or something. And they
Mhm.
said, "I'm sorry, like there's just nowhere else to put this." And this guy says, "Well, fine, I'm just going to have to put a curse on you then." And he does I think this guy is actually an American Indian. The actor is.
The performer,
Um
okay.
yeah. So, but anyway, then he does a what's that thing called where they do? because it's set up documentary style, kind of like The Office is. So he does like a one-on-one with the camera, like a little
Oh,
interview, and he's like, "If there's one thing I know about white men, is that they are terrified of curses."
It's
Maybe
true.
it is true. I mean, in the context of the episode, this is all very funny and poking fun at white people. Um,
Absolutely. Poke away. We
yes,
absolutely deserve it.
yes. This episode of Supernatural was not really poking fun though.
No, no. In fact, it's only Dean who really gets poked fun at
Uh,
and along the way.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so the episode opens with a housing development being built on Oasis Plains, Oklahoma. Not a real place.
Doesn't exist.
There's a weird this place Oasis Plains does not exist. Sapulpa, which they mention later, does exist.
Yeah.
Atoka exists, but not Atoka Valley, and also not in the correct location when they're describing miles away from, X
Like
to Y.
60 miles from
Yeah.
here and
We'll get to that point
yeah.
when they mention all these towns, but
Okay.
I kind of made like a little map of Oklahoma, and I was like, okay, this part exists. This one does not exist. This one kind of exists.
So MapQuest moment by Sami.
Well, actually, Sapulpa, the one that does exist, is about 45 minutes away from Claremore, Oklahoma, which I have lived in and spent a lot of time in.
Oh,
So, yeah,
wow.
an adjacent MapQuest moment, maybe we could call it.
No, that's a connection.
Yeah.
That's a connection.
Very
I like
nearby.
that.
Hmm.
I like that.
So anyway, it opens up. There's a gas and power company. I assume fitting power lines and stuff like that into all
Yeah.
of these new houses. And they're commenting like, "Man, I'd love to live here if I could ever afford it."
Right.
Uh,
And that's how you feel like anytime you like drive through like
Mhm.
a new development and like,
Totally.
oh, wouldn't it be great? You
Mhm.
know?
Mhm.
Next life. Our
Yeah.
next life through. Yeah.
Yeah. And one guy falls immediately into a sinkhole, breaks his
Yeah.
ankle, and asks for his buddy for help. And then Buddy goes to get a rope.
Yeah. And in the meantime, wow, because apparently, because it's Travis is the buddy who goes to get
Yeah.
a rope to help save Dustin, who fell into the hole. Travis takes the longest time finding a rope. He's like, "I'll go find you a rope." And in the meantime, I mean, Travis is starting. I mean, Dustin in this hole is starting to panic a little bit. I mean, first of all, he was very calm about I'm trapped, and I broke my ankle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very calm.
Mhm.
But then while he's down there, bugs from the hole start crawling on him, and you start noticing, a bug here and a bug there, and he's like, yeah, Travis, a little bit faster.
Right. And the way the camera cut, it was like, oh, he notices like a pile of bugs next to him, like near his
Hmm.
hand or whatever, crawling in a hole. And he screams like, "Hurry up!" And then the next camera cut is they are blanketing him.
Yeah, they have just like enveloped him. He is now wearing blankets of bugs, and they're
Yeah.
crawling on his hands, on his face.
Yeah.
And he's like, ah,
Yeah, hurry up!
faster,
Mhm.
and Travis is still like, yeah, I'm coming, doesn't quite notice the rising terror in his buddy's voice. And the next thing, this is what got me though. This was I kind of bought into the episode based on this opening sequence. And that's when they showed they showed the guy's face, Travis's face in the hole. No, I'm keep saying it wrong. Dustin's face. His eyes are a little bit bloodshot, and there's bugs crawling like close to his eyes.
Mhm.
And then you see one actually crawl into his ear.
Yeah.
And that right there just had me want to like throw my hands up and be like,
Yeah.
nope,
Yeah.
nope, can't do this. If this is what this episode is gonna be, oh my gosh, no. And that was my moment.
Yeah.
And me myself, I'm like, Travis, hurry!
Yeah.
Bring the rope. And he finally gets over there. Travis finally shows up with the rope, and he looks down in the hole, and he's like, Dustin. No more sounds coming from the hole because Dustin has been killed by all of these bugs. And I have to say, these were not giant bugs. These
No.
were like little beetles, which
Mhm.
still are bugs. And if
Mhm.
you don't like bugs,
Yeah.
um, but not something you would think as tearing into somebody's brain, you
Right.
know.
And this was less than 30 seconds and all this
Yeah,
happened,
yeah.
which yes, the point where the beetle crawled into his ear hole, yes,
Mhm.
totally gross. Um but I think the fact that like the steps just escalated so quickly,
Yeah.
kind you always say things to take you out of a moment, you know? This one kind of took me out of the
Did.
moment cuz
Yeah.
I didn't see the bugs scurrying really fast. You know, the bugs were just kind of
They
sitting
just
there on his chest,
It's
you
like
know?
somebody just dumped bugs on him and it's like, "Okay,
Exactly.
next."
Yep, yep,
Yeah.
yep.
So the next thing we find is Sam and Dean, our heroes. Sam is reading a newspaper about, and there's an article about this contractor's death, but it says that he died from mad cow's disease.
Mhm.
And so Sam has this question about, you know, mad cows. That's kind of a weird thing to be happening.
Mhm.
And we see Dean coming out of is it like a bar? So a
Yeah, it's
saloon
a total dive billiards bar.
where he clearly has just been hustling and he made money and he's all happy about it. And why do we have to go look at a mad cow? Why is this one of our things? Why is this,
Right.
So here's the thing about this episode, and they fall into this almost immediately. It becomes a story of exposition about the family.
Oh yeah. This episode was absolutely a vehicle for dad storyline
For
stuff.
yes, for son dad relationships, brother versus brother relationships, and they
Mhm.
jump right into it from the
Mhm.
beginning, and then it's like,
Mhm.
oh, and it just puts the brakes on.
Mhm.
I mean, it's the information we need, but do we need it all at once in one episode?
Right. Right.
And they
Especially
just
since they haven't really mentioned dad for several episodes now. But
right,
with the exception of that one line of like, I don't think dad wants to be found, and then that was it at the
right,
beginning, you know.
right,
Um
exactly.
but no, they jump right into a nice foreshadowing moment over talking about how they were raised and whether it was messed up or not, and
Yeah.
you know.
So there's one funny thing I liked about this particular scene when they're discussing whether it's mad cow or not mad cow, and Dean says something like, "Well, sounds like that's something they would talk about on Oprah." And Sam says, "You watch Oprah?"
Yeah.
And Dean is totally caught flat-footed in that moment. He's like, I," and he doesn't have
Yeah.
an answer. So, and I loved that. A total zing because he just caught off guard.
I loved that too because, I mean, spoiler alert, in the future, Sam is usually the one that gets the shit for watching the, quote unquote girly thing or the geeky thing or
Yeah.
the
Yep. Oh,
the
he's
the
always being
not
called
what's
out.
considered the manly thing, you know?
Right, right, which is funny because I need to stop saying this is funny. It is funny because later in this episode, Dean becomes
Yeah.
the total girl, the shower
Shower
moment
thing,
that
yeah.
we can get to. Yes.
Yeah.
So they say, okay. I mean, Dean's convinced, sort of, to go. Let's go research this death. And I was all excited for them to have new personalities. Like I thought maybe they were going to be contractors or construction workers, and they weren't. They just rolled into town. But they did when they were talking. They ended up talking to Dust. No,
The other
Travis.
one.
I'm fired. I'm just gonna. Are you drinking wine? Can I have some of it, please?
Yeah, how am I
Uh,
the one drinking wine and you're the one that's mixing up all the names?
I know. I'm tired. I'm tired. They hunt down. They're able to find Travis.
Mhm.
And this poor guy is pretty shaken by what he experienced. And he can't explain. He's like, I don't know. I don't know why he died the way he did. Oh, and Sam and Dean present themselves as Dusty's nephews.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
good old
And
Uncle Dusty.
this is persona number 1 in the episode. They have 3 different personas, and while they're not as dramatic as, Homeland Security or anything
Right.
like
No
that.
costume changes are
Need
required.
no. But this is the first fake identity.
Yeah.
Is, Uncle Dusty.
Uncle Dusty.
We're his nephews. He talked about you all the time. Although Travis did say something that was kind of, I don't know if it was meant to be funny, but they said, oh, did he have any wounds or anything? And he was like, no, he was just bleeding from the eyes, ears, and nose. That's it. I paused the thing and I said, that's it? That's all you...
Oh my gosh.
So then we say goodbye to Travis for the rest of the episode, and they
go back to the hole. They
go back to the hole.
The death. Yeah,
the scene.
The scene of the bugs.
Yeah, yes.
The scene of the tragic injury.
And there was a cute, funny brother moment here where they're just jabbing each other. Like, you too scared to go? Let's flip a coin if you're too scared.
I'm not scared. Well, I said I would go. No, I said I would go.
Don't drop me.
So Sam goes in, right? Sam gets lowered into the hole, but we don't see, just finds a couple of dead bugs.
Yeah, they do like a cut to him after the hole, fondling a dead beetle.
And Dean's like, that's all you found?
Yeah.
A couple of dead bugs? Really? We're still here?
Yeah.
There's no way that those teeny tiny little bugs and the few numbers could have destroyed that man's brain the way it was described. So they decide they need to go into town and look for more answers about bugs, see if there's any other bug issues. And is that when they're driving through the Oasis Plains?
Yes, and they see a sign that says open house and a barbecue, and Dean's
ding,
ears
ding.
poke up. He's like, well, as long as we're here.
And I love that this becomes a running theme for Dean. Food. And not just like food, but like food, like barbecue, down home, meaty food. And that becomes like a character signature of his. And so when I saw the barbecue sign, I was like, yes, here we go. And so it starts. They roll up on an open house in this new development. And they go up to the open house, and this is where another moment where I thought something big was going to happen. Not scary, but when they knocked on the door of the open house and the realtor opens the door, I was expecting costume change, new personas. Even though they didn't hint that that's what they were going to do, I was expecting new scene in Sam and Dean.
Yeah.
And they introduced themselves as Sam and Dean. I was like,
yes.
Oh. But what I love is they introduce themselves as themselves, but everybody thinks they're somebody else. Like people think that they're a gay couple.
Yes.
And not themselves. They are being themselves, and people think that they're a gay couple.
Yes.
Irony.
But they do say they do have, this is their second, I thought of this as their second persona of being potential homeowners for their senior father.
Right. So the guy who plays this realtor, the Larry Pike character, the actor's name is Andrew Airley. He comes back. He has another role on Supernatural in season 15. I just thought that was kind of cool. I don't recognize him. Like I didn't put my finger on it, but I looked him up and I was like, aha! He gets called back for another episode later down the line, way later down the line. But I thought that was cool.
Wait, did you not recognize him from anything else?
I didn't. I mean, I recognized him.
Oh my God, I thought you were going to talk about him because I looked him up too because he looked very familiar to me. And again, he's mostly done a lot of guest star stuff. But I think he has a huge role in Stargate, or at least a pretty recurring role.
Wait, yes. Stargate.
And I was totally gonna be like, up here she's gonna talk about the Stargate guy.
Yes, indeed. But also the woman who plays his wife on the show, she's Joni Pike, is Anne Marie DeLuise. She was on Stargate. She's married to Peter DeLuise, who directed a huge amount of Stargate. And is also the son of Dom DeLuise, who was famous for movies in the 70s and 80s, and also a chef, a very famous chef. Yes, sorry, but yes, thank you for refreshing me that he was on Stargate.
It's a good catch though about him coming back.
So we're introduced to the wife. the realtor's wife, and then we're introduced to another real estate salesperson,
Uh-huh.
Linda Bloom. Did you
Yes.
recognize this actress?
I didn't.
Okay. She's also on Supernatural in a later season, and she's on one of my most favorite episodes.
Which one?
The Invisible Friend episode.
Okay,
And
yeah.
and
Sam's imaginary friend.
yes,
Yeah, okay.
yes, she's the mom of the daughter in the beginning who
Oh.
doesn't see the imaginary friend or the carnage,
Uh-huh.
and so she's the one who's like,
Oh, smearing herself with
yes,
yeah,
yes,
okay.
yes. I don't want to go too much into that episode,
Yeah.
but unintentionally hilarious.
Yeah.
Unintentionally hilarious. So I saw her face. I was like, oh, there she looks. Oh, I know that woman. I know that woman. And so I was very excited to see her, and
Mhm.
in a very different role than
Right.
she is later.
Right.
Oh man, and she plays your typical real estate, agent, just
Yeah.
trying to sell you a house.
Yes.
Talks about the steam shower. I want a steam shower.
I do too
I
now after she was talking about it. I have
Yes.
no idea what a steam shower is, but I want one.
I'm assuming it's a shower that also has steam,
I
so
guess
you're
so.
warm from all
Yeah.
around as opposed to just okay.
Sounds very nice right now.
When we buy our new fabulous homes,
Right.
after we're done recording
Right.
our very famous podcast
Right.
from inside our closets.
Right. So
Um,
while she's trying to like really hardball sell a house to Dean, whom there's a she also mistakes them for a homosexual couple.
yes,
And instead of correcting them this time, Dean just goes along with it and says, "Well, I'm just gonna go
check out the house.
go somewhere, honey," and slaps him on the ass.
Slap Sam on the ass. Yes,
That was improvised.
I'm sure, because the look on Jared's face was like,
Yeah. Yep.
I think there's payback for that later.
There
in another
is.
scene. Okay.
is. I caught that too, and I had to rewind it a few times because I thought it was so
I was like,
funny.
yes, unplanned.
So, what's her name? Lori? Lindy.
Linda.
Linda. Hardball selling a house to Sam. And a tarantula is slowly crawling towards her. And behind the tarantula is this teenage kid looking gleefully.
Well, this is gonna be great.
Yep. And Sam saves her. He says,
Right.
"Excuse me."
And like very casually scoops up
The
this tarantula. And I have to say, I am terrified of spiders. I know enough about tarantulas to know that they are harmless. But they are big, hairy spiders, and that doesn't play into my natural instinct of, ooh, let me pick you up and pet you.
Right.
So I probably would have had a hard time. Granted, I'm sure they had people working with them to like get used to the tarantulas, but I was very impressed with Sam just being able to pick it up and be like,
Yeah.
okay, joke's over, take back your pet.
Yeah. And
I would not have been that
Jared,
person.
like Jared the actor, like picking up the tarantula.
Yes.
I'm not particularly scared of spiders, but I'm on the same boat. I'm like, I don't know if I would play with one, keep one
Right.
as a pet.
Right.
Now, did you recognize this guy, the son?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
Here is number 3.
This cast. Oh my
I know.
gosh.
Maybe they wanted to make up for the bad episode. Maybe they're like, you know what? We need to give these actors another chance. And
right? Yes. And he has a fantastic role later on.
Yes.
And it's a heartbreaking role.
Yeah.
He's Alfie?
Samandriel. Alfie / Samandriel.
Right. And he's like his persona is like he's a hot dog worker.
Yeah.
Like works at a hot dog fast food restaurant. And he's heartbreaking.
Yes.
And I love it.
Spoiler alert, and we don't want to go too much into it. But just know that this whole family
gets recast.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, except for the mom. The mom doesn't.
Oh, right. I'm sorry. I was confusing
it's the other real estate.
Yeah.
It's Linda, the real estate.
Linda.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. No, Tyler Johnston, who plays Matt, the son.
Matching haircuts with Sam. And then they discuss how much they both have bad relationships with their dad. to a point, but
Right. right. Unintentionally discussing. They don't
Yeah,
realize that
right.
they have shared experiences. So yes, so now Sam gets to have a little one-on-one with Matt, and
Mhm.
Matt automatically, like, first thing out of his mouth, he's not calling his dad by dad, he's calling him by his name, Larry, and
Mhm.
don't tell Larry, he doesn't, he never even mentions me when it comes to introducing the family.
Mhm.
So clearly a strained relationship there between Matt and
Yeah.
Larry Pike, and that bums me out because he seems like such a good kid.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, the gleefulness over, you know, potentially scaring someone with his pet spider, no harm would be done, but.
Yeah. So at some point during this open house, they find out that there was another death prior to Dustin, and that was somebody who had died by,
Bee stings.
yeah, a lot of bee stings, like
Yeah.
influx of bee stings. So
Which,
there's something going on here. Must be
with
with bugs,
with
since.
bugs, yes.
And then they decide to what's that? Squat in an open house
Yeah, a brand new, not moved into yet house
so
because
he
they're
can
gonna
try the
stay.
steam shower.
Yes. Yes, because they need to stay and investigate these bugs. It's not just this one incident. It's
Yeah.
bees and beetles. And so when Sam's driving and Dean pops out of the car and opens up the garage door of this
Uh-huh.
empty house. Sam pulls the car into the garage, and Dean's got his arms over his head because he's just physically opened the garage door with his hands.
Yeah.
And this is the other moment where Sam, as he drives past Dean holding up the garage door, like, slaps him. I thought he was gonna nut punch him, honestly.
Oh, that's what it looked like to me. Honestly, it was just a little nut tap.
It may have been. It looked
I
more
think
like a
it.
belly.
Oh no, I think
It,
it was
you
meant
think
to
it
be
was
a
a
nut
nut
tap.
tap?
Yeah.
Okay. I will say then just gives him a nice, friendly whoopah
Yeah.
as he drives past him. I loved that.
I did too.
I loved that. And it's funny because it takes me out because I'm like, oh, that was totally Jared and Jensen. But it took me
Yes.
out in a good way. It wasn't like, oh, damn it.
Yeah.
Why'd
But
they
it
do
was
that?
also like a brother moment. And maybe he was
Yes.
just getting him back for the ass slap.
Right. Oh, I'm sure
Yeah.
if they filmed it in order, but I would say yes. So in they go to their squatter's house, and in
Mhm.
the meantime, now this is evening time.
Mhm.
Linda, the realtor, is back at her house, and she's watching the news. They're talking about, there's been an increase in insect activity, and so
Mhm.
the counties are spraying more bug spray. And while she's watching this, a spider crawls out of her hair and across her forehead.
Yeah.
And it's a good sized spider. It's like a
Yeah.
quarter silver
Uh-huh.
dollar sized
Uh-huh.
spider that she swipes away, but has, like, when she doesn't just like wipe it away, it's like she kind of gets a hold of it. And I would think that in that moment she would have felt that it wasn't just like her bangs falling in her face. I think she realized it was a bug, but I don't think she realized what it was.
Yeah.
And I would have, uh in that moment, when you feel something on you and you're like, ah, and you go to wipe it off, but then in the moment when you feel that it's an actual animal on you,
Uh-huh.
I follow that up with, like, the wired ninja dance. I do the whole woo 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 woo, make sure there's nothing else on you. But she was just like, meh, one bug, meh, okay, and then she went back to watching the news.
Right. The only thing that I can explain away with that is that she didn't know that it was a spider or a bug or anything. She just felt something, because what I would have done and what I have done, because I grew up in the country and lived in the country a lot, where there are just spiders around, and occasionally there might be one crawling on you, is if I feel it, say if it's crawling on my arm, I
Mm-hmm.
slap my arm and I do not lift my hand up, and I'm like, "Oh my god, it's going to get away," or I'm going to have to, like, how
Oh.
do I remove the spider from where it is, or bug or whatever it is? I'm going to have to look at it. I don't want to look at it.
Oh. You and I are completely different. I need to get it off me right away and then deal with it either running back at me or running. I mean, I just need to get it off my body. That is off my body. And especially if you feel it, when you feel the, like, outline of an
Yeah,
animal, of
yeah.
an insect on you, it's like,
Yeah.
I literally do the
It's
ninja.
an yeah.
I
Again, I'm not exactly scared of bugs, but I don't like when they are unexpectedly on me.
Yeah. Well, it working in Hawaii, the amount of bugs that you
I
would
know.
unintentionally end up sharing a bed with,
Mhm.
were usually rather large.
Yeah.
And there's a part of you that has to tell yourself to calm down. It's just this or it's just that, because
Yes.
otherwise you're going to spend your entire time in Hawaii freaking out.
Yes, yes. So then after she swipes away the spider, she turns off the TV and gets into the shower. And
And this is where the show took a really bad turn for me.
oh yeah.
This is where
I said, and then also not too much later after this, I was kind of like, okay, so half the production team and also the artistic team maybe took vacation during this episode. Maybe they used the C team,
this just was so poorly executed. And I felt
really
bad
was.
for the actress because
Yeah.
she really had to put herself out there. I mean, what we're talking about is she's in the shower and suddenly spiders are supposed to start coming out of the pipes out of the shower head.
Yes,
But
a clutter of spiders. That's
yeah,
what
I
a group
mean,
of spiders is called. I
oh, it was
looked
a
it up.
clutter. Oh, I
Yes,
didn't know
I
that.
know.
Okay. I would just say a shit ton.
A shit ton, yes, a shit ton of spiders come crawling out through the shower head, like the point where the shower head meets the wall. They're crawling out
Right.
through that
Yeah.
point.
They're not being shot out at her. They're just crawling out from the pipe onto the wall.
Yeah, and the
It
CGI of this was
so
awful.
bad.
It was awful. There's no way to spin this. You can't even say like, oh, network TV. They don't have no.
No. It was no. It was somebody's like, high school, video project. It was
Yeah.
so bad.
Hmm.
It looked fake. It was fake, and it's like they didn't even try. And so the actress is, once she realizes that there's spiders coming out of the wall, she screams and
Hmm.
does what I would have done, which is smashes through the
Through the
glass of
glass
her
door.
shower door to get away from the spiders. That would have been me, absolutely. But in doing that, she is mortally wounded and then attacked by the spiders. We don't see them actually attacking her.
No,
But
all you see is her crashing through the glass door. You see a bunch of blood splattering through the floor, the shower drain.
yeah,
And then the next scene is her several feet away,
right.
just lying on the floor,
With,
naked. You
with
don't even really see like where she was.
bleeding
Was she
from,
impaled
right,
with the glass? I don't know, but there
right.
are spiders crawling over her
And
face.
but they're teeny tiny little spiders. Now,
Yes.
granted, those actually looked real. Those may have
Yeah.
actually been real spiders on
Maybe.
her.
Mm-hmm.
But they were teeny tiny as compared to the mother load of spiders, the size of the spiders that came out
Yes.
at her.
I have a story that I want to insert here. I
Okay.
have story time. Speaking of Hawaii, but we've already mentioned there are a lot of bugs there. It's an island. It's a tropical island. There are creatures there that
They
were
were
there
there before us,
you,
right?
and they're going to be there long after we're gone. So this is one of the summers that we were working there. I think it was maybe the second one. And I arrived a few days before our job was supposed to start so I could, spend some time in Hawaii. And I was staying with my friend Joe, who lives there, and showed me a tour of the house and stuff like that. Very cool bungalow little place. And then he said, "Oh, but man, you got to watch out for the cane spiders and the centipedes." Now, you know what a centipede is. It's one of the most horrifying bugs out there. A cane spider is a spider that is about the size of your hand, maybe even bigger. Like if we're talking my hand, like our tiny little hands, bigger than our tiny little hands.
Yep.
They're bigger than this tarantula that was in this episode.
Absolutely.
And leggier too. Like the legs are longer than the
And
tarantula.
hairy.
Mm-hmm. So I was like, "What?" He's like, "Oh, don't. It's fine. Every now and then they show up, but they won't hurt you or anything." So, and this was straight off of my flight, that I got there. So then I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna go take a shower." And I get in the shower.
no.
I have the shower running, and I see in the mirror. I'm looking in the mirror, and I see behind me, crawling on the wall, is one of those cane spiders.
Oh my gosh.
And I kind of just stood there for a minute, not really knowing what to do. And then the cane spider crawled around somewhere and disappeared. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna get in the shower. And so I did. Sharing the bathroom with the cane spider. I have no idea where he is.
Oh my gosh.
And I get out of the shower. I was terrified to pull a towel out from his shelf.
Oh my gosh.
He was not there. The cane spider was not there. But after I get done out of the shower, get dressed and everything, I come out and I said, "Joe, I saw one of those cane spiders you were talking about in the bathroom." And he's like, "What?" I haven't seen one of those in months. I was kind of just joking around, trying to get a rise out of you with, with these bugs.
He invoked the spider.
He did. And so I was like, oh no, it's definitely in there somewhere in the bathroom. So then we venture into the bathroom and kind of, knock on some things trying to coax it out. And it does come out of the bathroom, and it's crawling very fast. And it goes out the bathroom, up the wall, and onto his ceiling of his bedroom, his loft bedroom. And we're like, how do we get this cane spider off? His ceilings were very, very high. So he gets this broom and he's like trying to kind of knock it off or whatever. This cane spider drops from the ceiling and directly into my open suitcase right underneath.
Oh my God. Were there any screams at this point?
Once I started okay, I gotta get the spider out of my suitcase. And so then I started kind of like lightly pulling my clothes away.
Oh my gosh.
And then it came, and then it chased me. Then the cane spider chased me, and that is when I screamed. I couldn't take it anymore. I was like,
spiders dropping, like free falling, just seeing a body that big fall.
Yeah. Into your suitcase.
Into your suitcase. Nope.
Yep.
Did we mention that they're harmless? Did we mention that when we started this story?
They are, but it's just something else to experience it
spider,
for yourself.
Yes. Dear diary.
Yeah.
Today.
So thankfully I did not, kill myself by running out of a glass shower door.
But that the instinct was there.
Yes.
Oh my God, Sammy. That's awesome. Aloha.
Yeah.
So going from that story to Linda, Sam and Dean hear about this on the police scanner and goes to get Dean, like, we got to go investigate, something's happened. Well, Dean's in the shower and he's like not coming out. And Sam's like, come on, we gotta go. And Sam opens the bathroom door and he's like this plume of steam comes like foofing out of the bathroom door. And he, of course, has his head wrapped in a towel turban.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate very much.
Yeah.
Anytime I can see a man who actually takes the time to wrap his head in a towel in a turban fashion, I love it. A little bit of luxury there.
Yeah, he doesn't even have the hair for it. He doesn't need to.
No, but that's what I love.
It is funny, yeah. So eventually he is pulled away from his steam shower, and they go visit Linda's house, in which Larry was there, saying like, oh, she passed away last night. I don't know really what happened. And the boys then say, okay, we need to look into this because she was perfectly fine yesterday.
Right.
So they sneak into the house and they shake a towel, and then a bunch of plastic Halloween spider rings fall out.
Yeah, minus the rings, but yeah, pretty much. What made me laugh first was the tape outline of her body on the floor. I was like, do they still do that? Do they still chalk outline dead bodies in crime scenes?
I'm not quite sure. I don't. Yeah, I can't answer that. Like, I can't. I don't know if I can laugh at that or say, well, actually,
Yeah, no, I giggled at that moment. That I was like, oh, all right, that's interesting.
No, there was from me an audible eye roll from those prop spiders.
Yeah, it's like you could almost hear them like going, not clunk, but like as plastic. Yeah, that was definitely a sit back from the TV as opposed to a lean in and like, let's see what's happening next. I did before when Dean and Sam first roll up to the house before they go in, it's pouring rain. I mean, that entire shoot must have just been torrential downpour.
Yeah.
And Sam and Dean get out of the car and they pop open umbrellas, and Larry, the realtor, he has an umbrella. But all the construction guys out there just standing in the pouring rain. And I mean, there was a cop there who was obviously asking them questions in the background. I'm like, these poor extras. Again, extras got the shaft.
Yeah.
They're standing there in the pouring rain. So it's one of those, please let this only be a one take.
Right.
Please get your lines right.
Yeah. So because this involves bugs, or arachnids technically, but they suspect Matt again, and then they try and follow him. And so he gets off the bus and Matt walks in a different direction than where his house is.
Yeah, it walks into the woods.
Yeah,
Like gets
so
off the bus and goes whoop right into the woods.
yep. Yep, so Sam and Dean follow him. They find Matt, and he's plucking a nice juicy praying mantis off of is it praying mantis or stick bug? Maybe it was a stick bug.
It was a stick bug.
I think it was a stick bug.
Yeah, because praying mantises are green, and this was definitely
they can
like...
also be not green, but
Oh, really?
yeah.
Okay, my
but I think you're right. I think it is a stick bug. Anyway, a big bug. He's handling a big bug.
A big bug. Inquisitively.
Yes, he's into bugs, and that's okay. You know, we all got our things that we're into. He's into bugs. It's fine. So then they approach him. They kind of what's the word?
They're like, "Hey, we want to talk to you about bugs."
Yeah. They try to interrogate him, I guess, but very mildly.
Yeah. Well, I love that his first question is, "Hey, are you guys serial killers?" Because he's
Right,
like, "You're not really here to buy a house, are you? Wait a minute, are you serial killers?" And Sam, of course, is like, "No, we're most definitely not that." But it's like, well, okay, in that case,
yeah.
come follow me deeper into the woods.
Yes. But he is a helpful character in this because he does know that something is up with the bugs. He's like, they're acting very unnatural. Let me show you.
Yep. And he leads them deeper into the woods into this clearing, which I loved this because I had my ear pods in.
Yeah.
Could you hear? Oh my gosh. I will say that the sound quality of this production, they did a great job. Sound department did a great job because the bugs buzzing in your ear, it wasn't like an overwhelming zzz, it was those brr, brr,
it was all sorts of insect sounds happening. There were you could hear
their
legs crawling.
Them.
Yeah, you
could almost feel them in your ears, and I loved it. I was like, yes.
Yeah. If that whole episode would have just been sound and not any of the effects, it would have been way scarier, I think.
Yeah. That's got to be a disappointment though when like one department really falls down on a gig. It's like, God, everybody else worked so hard. And it's not that the, visual effects department didn't work hard. It failed. It just whatever their efforts were didn't work.
Right.
And so it makes me feel bad for all the other departments. Enough of that. So in this clearing, I saw what I thought was a big pile of worms.
It was a big pile of worms.
Okay. And Dean goes over to it, like tap.
Yeah.
Taps it with his foot. And it turns into like a giant worm hole.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just this pile of worms, it was actually a mass hole of worms. And he's able to he notices something in the hole besides worms, and he reaches his hand in, which
yeah.
Again, I would not be the one doing that. And it's not to say that I would be like girly screaming off into the corner. I think I would be able to do it if I had to.
Right. Would you be like Willie from Temple of Doom, Indiana Jones Temple of Doom?
No, I would do it. I would absolutely. I would have stuck my hand in there, and I would have been no. But maybe a little bit.
Yeah. So he pulls out a skull throughout all these worms. Like he begrudgingly puts his hand in and pulls out a skull.
A human skull.
But we should mention just right before this, when they're while they're walking to the clearing, is a lot of dad exposition again.
Yeah.
Sam and Matthew kind of commiserating together about their relationship with their dad, and Sam saying like, oh, it's gonna get better in 2 years because you can go off to college and do your own thing,
get away from your dad.
Yes. And Dean says, well, he should just stick with with his family. That's a dumb answer. So this is just them fighting with each other, but using Larry as a metaphor,
Right. Exactly. What gets me though is that having grown up in the house together with Dad, you think that Dean would have been very clear on where Sam stood and why Sam left to go away to school, and not be taken aback by, well, why would you tell that kid to do that? It's like, well, it's because he's Sam and he had these experiences with Dad. And so I didn't like that it was a surprise, not like surprise, but it was a revelation to Dean that Sam had those feelings about their dad.
So they take these skulls to a university.
because when you have questions,
mhm.
you go ask a professor at the local university.
Yes, yes. And this professor says, well, these look like they're Native American bones, which this supposedly was a site of I think he said a Yuchi tribe was there.
Uh, I I don't think he said the Yuchi was there. I think he said he couldn't put his finger on any particular
Hmm.
um, history in that area, but down the road there's the Yuchi tribe. Like 60 miles from here, there's the Yuchi.
Oh, right,
Um,
because he said that there's nothing like on the record, like
right,
officially on the record about what's there.
right,
But it's probably best to go through some word of mouth accounts from, you know, he
right.
didn't say not white people, but I think that's what the
Right,
implication was.
right. They also didn't, they didn't step into the whole, well, Oklahoma itself was
Indian
Native
territory.
American.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was their territory that entire time. But we missed a personality here, identifications, because Dean and Sam introduced themselves to this professor as not just students at the university, but students in his class.
Oh yeah, you're right. So they have four personas here because I missed that one or forgot
Yes.
about it.
It's like, yeah, we're students here in your class,
Uh-huh.
Anthropology 101. And the professor's like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, okay. Which I get because all those 101 classes were lecture
They're
classes
huge.
with like over 100 students in each
Oh
class.
yeah, yeah. And in
Yeah.
fact, the time that I spent at KU when I went there, I had a friend where we would accompany each other to each other's classes, even though I was not enrolled in his political science class and he was not enrolled in my, I think it was archaeology class, but we were just bored, because we didn't have anywhere to go in between classes. So we just hang out.
Oh my
These
gosh.
teachers had no idea,
Nope. So they do go to the Yuchi tribe.
So like the little reservation area, I think. And this
Is
is
it a
where
reservation?
I
Okay.
think so. Or it's a community that's in Sapulpa, Oklahoma, which is this.
Sapulpa, that was the name
Yeah.
I was looking for.
Yeah,
Okay.
Sapulpa is the town that does in fact exist in
Okay.
Oklahoma.
Yeah. And they're able to find Joe Whitetree. I don't want to stereotype him as like a tribal elder, but he has stories. He has stories to tell
Yes.
about what happened. Did you Here's my question. Did you recognize this actor?
I recognized him from Dances with Wolves.
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know
Yes.
if there was
You
something else.
win. Yeah, Jimmy Herman, Dancing with Wolves. I think he played Stonecalf, and he was great. He also had a role on the X Files. So
Ah,
full circle.
yeah.
The only thing he didn't do was Stargate
Right.
or Psych. But
Right.
I loved when Dances with Wolves came out. I loved that movie.
I
I
did too.
absolutely loved it. So I was thrilled to see him
Mhm.
again.
Mhm. He
Um,
has a very soothing voice. Like when
mhm.
he speaks and his cadence of how he
Yeah,
says words was I
yeah.
could listen to him tell me
E-
bedtime stories,
right. Well, even when he calls Dean out for being a liar,
Yeah.
because Dean and Sam introduce themselves as students of the university, and he's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
"You're lying."
Yeah. But and this was also, and I don't want to speak too much on this as a non-indigenous person,
Hmm.
but I sometimes feel uncomfortable when I'm watching a show or a movie that involves Native American or American Indian themes, especially when it's this mystic kind of turn, because I just
Yeah,
feel like it's too easy a thing to write, it'd be like, oh, Native Americans, they're
ancient burial ground. Yeah,
right, right, or they speak in metaphors and stories and stuff like that. It's just,
right. It's I
and I
will
don't know
say,
what to think about it.
yeah, I actually think it's okay because historically their history was in storytelling. That's how they passed their history
Yeah.
along, was in storytelling. So using that as a background is okay. And I think the idea of like curses and ancient burial grounds isn't solely a Native American past lore,
Yeah.
because any graveyard is a haunted graveyard, in
Yeah.
as
But there
as
is
Americans.
something that has been attributed to in media to
Yes.
American Indians,
Yes.
which is
So I would love to
curses.
get away from
Yeah.
that and see them as people, as their
Yeah.
people.
So, but that's what they do here is, they
Yep.
ask the questions and they say, we found some bones here and there's been a lot of strange activity here. Can you tell us anything about it? And Joe Rytree goes into a nice little tale
Hmm.
about, here, I wrote it down. I did. Well, I liked the way he worded this,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
The American cavalry came 200 years ago when his ancestors were living on this land. They came to relocate the tribe, and then the tribe refused to go. The night the moon and the sun hung in the same sky, they came and raped and murdered for 6 nights. And on the 6th night, by the time the sun rose, every man, woman, and child still in the village was dead. But before the chief died on that 6th night, he declared that the white man wouldn't tarnish that land again, that nature would rise up and torment for as many days as they themselves suffered. That's not verbatim, by the way. I just
No, that sounds right. I mean, he, if you could say it the way he did, I'd appreciate it. But
I'm not an old man with a beautiful, soothing voice.
Right. So it turns out that the chief. Did you tell this part of the story that the chief did curse the white man?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
With nature.
Yes.
It's like nature will prevail against the white man. And Dean and Sam are like, bugs are nature. So this is a thing. This is what's happening.
Yeah.
And Sam says, well, how do you break a curse? Dean says, you don't. You just get out of its way.
Yes.
And
they also find out that tonight is the 6th night.
Oh, it's the equinox. Yeah.
Yes. Well, because the sun and the moon are in the same sky, they equate that with the spring equinox.
Mm-hmm.
But when they determined the first night that Dustin died, or was it Dustin, or maybe it was the other person?
The bee guy.
Yeah,
it was the electrician, the bee guy. Yeah.
Yeah, and they said, "Oh, well, that's 6 nights, so we gotta go."
Yes, we gotta go. We have to get that family out of there because this isn't a salt and burn moment. This is
get the fuck out of the way.
Get out. Yeah. And so as they're driving to this house to go get the family out, they get a hold of the son, Matt.
No, they call the realtor first. They call the dad, and this was my persona number 3, but actually persona number 4, that he pretends to be Travis. Weaver from Gas and Power, saying there's a gas leak.
Right.
But in a twist, Larry knows who Travis is. He said, "This is not Travis. Who the hell are you?"
Right.
Hangs up, and then Sam calls Matt
and says, "Matt, you have to convince your dad to get out of the house. Tell him, do you make him listen?" And Matt's like, "My dad won't listen to me."
Yeah. Because Matt has also found a bunch of hissing cockroaches in the in his backyard, which are my nightmare. Those
hissing cockroaches or cockroaches?
Hissing cockroaches, specifically hissing cockroaches. Cannot do them. If I see them on TV, I screamed. I was just like, no!
I was going to say, did you jump when they popped out?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I cannot handle the hissing cockroaches.
So, Kim Manners, who directed this episode, also directed an X-Files episode that had like 300 cockroaches in it. There were like, I think there was 30,000 bugs in this episode. And he also directed an X-Files episode that had those hissing cockroaches. 300.
Nope.
So that's a no?
So, yeah, Sam is speaking to Matt and saying, you got to make him listen. Dean grabs the phone and says, "No, just tell him a story. Tell him that your left arm hurts.
Pain in your side. Pain in your side. Go to the hospital."
And then he laughs. He looks at Sam. He's like, "Just make him listen. What the hell are you thinking?
What are you thinking?"
That was funny.
Yes, that was awesome. That was awesome. So they show up at the house, and the family is still there.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I shouted at the TV. I'm like, people need to listen to the heroes. If they don't listen to the heroes, then they put everybody in danger.
Yeah.
That always happens. You don't listen to the heroes. Now the heroes have to put themselves in danger while trying to save you because you didn't listen in the first place.
Right. But also, they don't know that Sam and Dean are the heroes. They just think they're just some guys,
I know that.
But us as the audience are like, no!
you have to listen to the heroes. So... And so the dad's like, "What are you guys doing here? Get the hell out. You guys are crazy, trying to tell us that there's bugs invading." And Dean looks at Matt, the son. He's like, "What happened to the plan?
Yeah.
We had a plan. What happened to the plan?" I am like that all the time in life. I'm like, we made a plan.
Yeah.
Why aren't we doing the thing? Oh, he just looks so crestfallen. He's like, "Matt, we had a plan."
Yeah.
So now they have to plan B it And luckily for Sam and Dean, like bugs start showing up, and it's like, haha, see, we told you.
Yeah.
So the dad is like, oh crap.
Right. So
And
they all hustle into the house.
Hustle into the house because now it's too late to leave, apparently.
Yes. So Sam and Matt go off to lock everything in the house. It's doors, windows, the fireplaces, anything that could have an opening.
Yep.
Dean is shoving towels under the door. The wife is like, "What's happening?" You know, because she's been, nowhere to be found. And they can't call through their landline because the bugs have chewed through the...
Right, the power goes out.
Yeah, the power goes out. They've chewed through the power lines. They
And
can't use the cell phone because the bugs are covering the signal
like,
with the mass of their swarm.
Yeah, they're literally blanketing the house so no signal can get out.
Yep. Dean finds 1 can of bug spray because that's gonna do it. Is 1 can of bug spray.
Right. Right. Yeah, and even the wife is like, really?
Yeah.
Bug spray, and he's like, you'd be surprised. It's like, okay, I don't think I'm gonna be surprised by this.
No.
And then they all turn because they hear like a rumbling in the chimney,
Uh-huh.
and it's like, dun dun dun, the flu. And instead, somebody says, run upstairs, but nobody moves.
Yes. Everyone get upstairs, and then they just sit there and look at the fireplace until the bugs come swarming.
Explode out of the chimney, and then they go running upstairs. With Dean,
1 can of
bug spray and a lighter, and he's like using it as a flamethrower.
Yeah.
Did you ever do that as a kid?
With hairspray? I have.
Hairspray.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Not too dangerous. But here's the thing, like whenever you do that, whatever you're spraying and burning stinks. Like it's not just like it's cool, but then you're like, oh my god, that smells. I can only imagine how toxic spray, lighting bug spray on fire would be, and what that would have smelled like had they actually been using.
Right. Probably the least of their worries at this point.
I know. But again, took me out for a second because I was like, wow, I wonder what that must have smelled like.
Oh, I didn't think about that. I was just like, this isn't going to do anything for...
No. and given the number of bugs, it was, and that his flame only shot like a foot and a half from the can. It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
So remember how I said there was like 30,000 bugs used in this episode? Even with that number of bugs in real life, they didn't show up. They didn't play on screen. They just weren't big enough to play. So they ended up having to add in all those CG bugs. Yeah. And I was like, oh, so the cast went through acting with bugs and getting stung by bees. And their costumes, all of their costumes had special cuffs sewn in to keep bugs out of their But they said everybody, cast, crew, everybody still got stung.
Oh my god.
And I think Jensen got stung once, and Jared thought it was hysterical. And then he sat down on a bee and got stung on his ass.
God.
Which Jensen thought was hysterical. So I could just only imagine everybody going through the trauma of working with insects and to only have to have them replaced with CG, which totally showed, of course, because the bugs looked ridiculous.
Yeah, they should. Well, but they should have just done the CGI anyway. Working with bugs, I don't think is a very safe thing to do.
No, but
they're not like trainable animals, This scene with all of these bugs flying in through the windows.
Oh gosh.
And us talking about, real bugs versus fake bugs and
right.
So this is yet another bugs in Hawaii story.
We do have some of those.
Not to mention mice, but that's another
podcast.
Yep, another podcast, another story, maybe another episode, who knows. We were all working, there were 5 of us, I think, in this house working together this summer. This is a different summer than the spider store. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Boy, that would have been a terrible summer.
Oh my gosh. We come home from it's in the evening, we come home from like a long day of driving people around and schlepping music stands everywhere.
Theater production.
Yes. We open the door and there's bugs like everywhere. I don't even remember what kind of bugs they were.
They were like flying, like bigger than gnats, but not as aggressive as gnats.
They were like a type of maybe little beetle or something.
Yeah.
Or like it almost looked like a lightning bug or one of those little orange beetle things. You know what
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
talking about?
Yes, exactly,
It kind
exactly.
of looked like one of those. So a small bug was not a cockroach, was not a fly. It
Right.
was they were all the same kind of bug
Right.
uh
There was a lot of these same bugs
in this house.
in the house, like more than there should be in anybody's house at any given time, at
Right.
any moment.
Right.
Right.
I mean, granted, you open windows and stuff all the time in Hawaii because it's beautiful. The
Right.
weather is.
And most people don't have air conditioning, so you just leave your
Yeah.
windows open.
There's
Yeah.
also screens, so they should not be getting in. We're like, what the hell is
Right.
going on? You
So
are
we
yelling at us.
why did you guys leave windows open? Let's start cleaning up the bugs.
Yes. So then
And
there are so many that we have to get a vacuum cleaner.
with the but like with the hose,
Yeah, the hose and the
because they
brush
were
attachment.
right. So we're like,
They're on the curtains, they're on the walls. I mean, I felt bad, because like these bugs were
this is
they were
not
just
right. It's also not
there.
our house.
Right, it's not our house.
But we would vacuum them up and then sit down and watch TV, and then it's like, oh,
Yep,
oh,
they were all there again. They were still there or like reappearing. We didn't
and
know
we
if they
couldn't
were.
figure. Yeah, I was yelling, why are they still coming in? I told you shut the windows.
Then we go, or you go upstairs. I think it was your room that was upstairs.
Yeah, this time. I went upstairs. I was like, hey, you guys, can you bring the vacuum cleaner up here?
And then we do, and this bedroom was not even joking covered. Like you could not even see the color of the walls really by how many. Well, that's maybe an exaggeration, but
You you guys came upstairs with a vacuum cleaner to see me standing like in the middle of this room in front of wide open doors that
yep,
led out to the lanai
your
that
bedroom. I'm just
that
gonna. I'm
I
saying.
had left open. So I spent that whole evening harping at you guys for this infestation. And not only were you guys working really hard downstairs to vacuum up all the bugs, it was my fault that all the
Mm-hmm.
bugs were in there. And now we had to vacuum my upstairs,
Yep.
my room. And vacuum as in exterminate.
Yeah.
Chase bugs around the room with a wand and
Yeah.
a hose attachment.
Yeah. Like a shop vac type of thing.
There was more bugs in that room than I've ever seen anywhere
Yeah.
else in Hawaii at any
You're
given
right.
time.
And you know what? I don't think that I ever saw that kind of bug again. Like it wasn't a bug that was like, oh yeah, that's the
Oh, that's a
whatever
so
kind
and
of
so. Yeah,
beetle.
nope, nope, never saw them again. What the heck?
Well, next time don't build a housing development over, a cursed tribal land.
Right, right. And lesson learned.
Right.
Um,
So the family makes their way upstairs and into the attic, where they shut out, I think, most of the bugs until they see, like, and hear, and visibly hear, um,
termites chewing through the roof.
I know.
Do you hear that? It's termites. Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so termites chew a hole through the roof so that all the other bugs can now get
Can
in.
come in. Yeah, they're all working in cahoots with each other,
Yes.
these bugs.
Cahoots.
Jensen and Sam, they find a big plate of something and like shove it up there and lock it in with a to block that hole. But then, there's like 3 more holes coming in. And so they're like, oh no. So then they decide to armor each other with their jackets, in,
Yeah,
in a corner.
and they're just screaming. Everyone's just like, ow, ow, screaming,
Mm-hmm.
screaming. And then suddenly Sam says, Dean, look.
Yes. At approximately 12:06 a.m., the sun rose. Because they arrive at the house, they explicitly say it's 12 a.m. They're coming soon. There is no way. They did not, through camera or montages or anything, indicate in any way that 5 or
Time
6
passed.
hours had passed.
Nope. They ran up the stairs. They locked themselves in the attic. Dean still has spray left in his can for fire. And
for a little bit, no,
suddenly-
but then he says, like, oh, damn it. Like, it runs out and he
it's
throws
out.
it aside. Yeah.
Okay. But that wasn't 6 hours
No. It was
of bug
6
spray.
minutes. It was maybe 6 minutes.
And then not only do they say, "Look, you know, and the sun's rising," it literally went whoop,
Yep.
like the
Yep.
room lit up.
Yep.
It was the dumbest thing. It was just like, "Let's end this episode. We just
Yeah.
have to end this
Yeah.
episode."
Like, it was like, "Oh, we don't know what to do here. I guess we'll just have the sun come up." It was, like, such lazy writing.
Yep, and lazy production values.
Everything was lazy.
Yeah, it was stupidly comical. I mean,
Yeah.
if it wasn't trying to take itself so seriously,
Uh-huh.
it would have been, "This is how bad theater is made."
Yeah.
"Look, the sun's coming up. Whoop!"
Yep.
There
Yep.
it is, dangling from a string. Oh, it was so bad, and all the bugs disappear.
Yep, they just go
Nobody
away.
has any sting marks on them.
They do then, but when they come back the next day, they're all miraculously
Oh,
gone.
yeah. Ugh. Ah.
Yeah.
So, but luckily nobody dies.
Yeah.
Um, they nothing. The boys didn't actually solve anything. They didn't fix the problem. This land is going to be cursed at this time
Yeah.
every year,
Yeah.
and so luckily Larry experienced the curse
Mhm.
firsthand and is like, let's try to keep people
Yeah.
out of this
Oh, okay.
area.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he and the family are packing up, and he's like, well, that was the worst, financial
Mm.
experience of my life. People died, but yeah,
That's okay.
that's
I mean,
okay.
it's worth it. And then there's a loving look between father and son. It's
Right.
like,
He
oh,
he acknowledges something good came out of it, which is, he got to shelter in place with his son, and now they have a better understanding of each
yeah,
other, I
yeah,
guess.
I guess so. And the
Uh,
son is throwing away all of his bug stuff, like
yes. Yes,
his bug collection. I don't think they're alive, but he throws away the dead things and the cages that he was keeping them in, and
right, or
he was,
the displays
yeah.
of like that giant spider under glass.
Yeah,
Like he's
yeah. And
like he's
Sam was just like, "What, really?" And he's like, I'm kind of
kind of
freaked
over
out
it.
about them
Kind
now."
of I don't blame him.
No,
I don't blame him. But it was a nice moment.
it was cute.
And luckily, at the end there's still more brotherly exposition.
Hmm.
And Sam says, I want to find dad and I want to apologize to him. Which was a flip for me. I didn't see that coming. I knew he still wanted to find dad. But the fact that Sam was finding out that he wasn't always right.
Yeah.
He had all these feelings of, dad always came down on me. Dad was always hard on me. He loved you. You were the favorite son. You never did anything
Mhm.
wrong.
Mhm.
He's like, but now he's seeing it a little bit differently through Larry's eyes, I guess.
I guess, yeah,
Um,
that was the thing. Was just like, how did he come to this change of heart?
I
I
think it
mean, I'm
came
glad
more
it
through
happened, but maybe it's because he experienced this thing with his
I
family. I
I want to
don't.
say it came more through Dean himself, because Dean
Maybe.
actually was the one who said, you got dad all wrong. You think dad just lets you walk out of the house, after your big fight, but he actually checked in on you.
Yeah.
He cared about you. He wanted to make sure you were okay. And so he's not the complete monster that you seem to think he is.
Yeah. Yeah. And
And
you could
so,
also call him. He says to
right,
Sam,
so,
it's like it's a two-way
yeah,
street. You can always pick up the phone.
yep.
You know.
So I think it was actually Dean who gave him
Yeah.
the but
Yeah.
again, I didn't see, because Sam's quote the normal kid in the family. You would think that he had the easier upbringing. So the fact that he actually had to flip and say, I may have been wrong as well.
Yeah.
It
Mhm.
wasn't just dad, it could have been me. And I was like, that's huge. That's
Yeah.
actually a really big, discovery about yourself.
Mhm.
So I'm glad that was in there.
Yeah.
And then they're like, all right, peace out. Let's
Yep.
on to the next.
Yeah.
And but did you notice though, it's they've got they get in the car, and in the Impala, and they drive away. It like fades to black, it
Mhm.
cuts to black, and they do the final credit screen.
Mhm.
Were you listening?
Well, it depends. What did you hear?
Before the music starts, before the roll credit music starts,
Uh
you
huh.
hear bugs. You hear the bugs again.
Oh, I
You hear
did.
there's like there's a zzz, zzz in each ear. It's
Oh,
like
oh,
zzz,
I
zzz.
think I. Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You're right.
And I was like, clever, clever sound department. I mean,
Yeah,
sound design.
I was more focusing on the different song that they
Ah,
had on the DVD, which was Poison's "No One Like You."
oh, I don't even remember what they played.
It was just general rock
General.
music, because even
Um,
in the because I watched the Netflix one with subtitles, and even then it just said rock music.
Yeah,
There
they
were
usually
no,
say the band name.
yeah, there
Right,
weren't any like words
right.
or anything to it either. So
In that general rock music, because before the music starts, there's the buzz in your ear,
yeah,
and then the music starts, they're still buzzing.
yeah,
There's still insect buzzing in the music, and then it kind of fades out into the
yeah.
standard
I
dun
remember that now.
dun yeah. But I thought that was a nice touch, given how craptastic the rest of
Everything else
that
was.
episode was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't. I don't know. I don't
It,
want to completely say like this was the worst episode ever, but
no,
man, it was pretty bad.
it was bad. It wasn't I was expecting super cool bugs, like it was
Yeah,
called bugs, and from the opening sequence, given how traumatizing that guy's death was, like the
yeah.
detail they went in, I was like, this is gonna be really creepy. There weren't like jump out moments. There was no super creepy stuff. The spiders looked ridiculous, and it just wasn't a supernatural esque. We went from watching Skin, the guy tears his
Yeah, and
skin off,
Hookman.
and
The
Hookman.
last shot of Hookman was like him in this like awesome pose, like burning
Yeah,
into embers, from the
right.
outside in.
And then to go to that, it was
Yeah,
like, oh, and all it was exposition about, the brothers.
yeah,
It's necessary, but not all at once, crammed into an episode that has
right,
nothing truly supernatural about it.
right. Yeah. I mean,
So,
this episode it was like the one where time and location had no meaning, you know.
right, right.
The one where they used the C team for everything, or where they just took the day off and said, fuck it.
Somebody else do this.
Yeah. Okay, so I know that we've been doing these little Twitter recaps of recaps. We're nixing those.
Tried and failed.
Yeah, it didn't quite grab
It didn't grab us. So
yeah. So that's okay. We tried it. Didn't work. And we'll try something else. So the something else we're gonna try is we're gonna do some shout outs to our friends who are trying something new. We have so many friends, acquaintances, colleagues in the performing arts who are
Well, with performing arts being shut down, people
yeah,
are looking for other ventures to
right,
not necessarily always make money, but to keep themselves
right.
occupied and to reach out to other people to help them stay occupied. And if it's making them money, that's great.
Yeah, yeah. So these are like shout outs for things that people aren't usually doing, if that makes sense. There should be like a little theme song to it. Like a sting. Like
People doing things they don't do.
shout out to people doing things that aren't the things that they normally do.
Okay, I'll get back to you on that. Let's can we talk to Dan about
Nope, it's just
recording?
gonna be me singing it every time.
Oh, okay.
Period.
All right.
I won't sing it again. So, the first shout out that I want to do is to my friend Justin Cole Adams, who has a podcast of his own called Justin Takes the Bachelor. And this is in a somewhat similar format of it's rewatching a show. It's a show that is on live now, The Bachelor, which I don't watch.
Nor do I, but I
Right.
have many friends who do.
Oh, my sister watches it. She and her friends do like
They do watch parties.
they do watch parties and brackets of like the
Oh my gosh!
like in March Madness or like football, they do brackets like that for the
How
winner.
are the girls stacking up?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
So I wanted to shout him out because he's been doing this for about a year, maybe a little over a year. And it was knowing someone who was a friend of mine, someone who I work alongside sometimes. It was just somebody in my circle started their own podcast. And that was really inspiring because I've been wanting to do a podcast for a long time, but it was seeing somebody that I knew do one that was really inspiring. It was like, oh,
It can be
That's
done.
it's really
Yeah.
cool. It can be done, and I love that he's so shameless about the thing that he loves. You know, and it's important. You should be shameless about the things that you're into. It doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter if it's, trashy reality TV or trashy ghost hunting TV,
Right.
it doesn't
Right.
matter. If you like those things, then be proud of them. Um,
And he's good. He's good at it.
he
He is
is.
so well spoken. He knows what
Uh-huh.
he's talking about, and it's so interesting to listen to. Even if you don't, I don't watch The Bachelor, as I
Right.
said, but listening to his I'm like, oh my gosh,
Mhm.
so intelligent,
Yes.
and thought
Yes.
provoking.
Yeah, it is because there have been a few controversial moments in the Bachelor universe that have happened, and he talks about them in
Hmm.
a very intelligent way. It's not just all flippant stuff. It's like, oh no, this stuff is important. Just because it's happening in the Bachelor universe doesn't mean that it
Sure.
affects media in general or people in general. And he talks about it, and I love that he talks about it.
Yeah.
So give him a listen. Justin Takes the Bachelor. He's also on Instagram at Justin Takes the Batch, all one word. It's spelled like Bach, which just throws
I
me
know.
off.
When I first read it, I was like, takes the Bach.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. But yeah, and he works for a company that I've worked for and with for a while called Broadway Crew. They do marketing essentially for Broadway tickets, which Broadway is not open right now and hasn't been for almost an entire year.
Right.
So, this is he's doing something that is
He's doing his passion
yes,
piece.
exactly. Thank you. Thank you. He's doing his passion piece and I love it and I appreciate it and I want to showcase it. So, I encourage you to go listen to it, especially if you're a Bachelor fan. If you're a Bachelor fan, you will love this podcast.
I agree.
So speaking of social media and all of that, we are on social media.
Yay!
Yay! Um, our Twitter is at Salt and Burn This. Our Instagram and Facebook is at Salt and Burn This Pod. Come give us a follow, come give us a like. It would also be amazing if you could rate and review our podcast on all of the platforms that allow ratings and reviews. I know Apple does and Podcast Addict does. I don't know the rest off the top of my head that do or do not. But that would be a huge, huge help to us if you like this podcast to let us know or let the platforms know.
As they say, subscribe and like.
Exactly. Thumbs up and stars and follow and all of that. So, thank you for listening to this episode of Salt and Burn This, and we will see you next week. Okay, thank
Hey,
you, everyone. We'll see you next week.
thanks. Bye.
Bye.